What's going on, everyone? Today I'm showing you how to make a Mexican roasted poblano salsa with freshly roasted poblano peppers. If you're new here, welcome to Mexican Cooking Academy, where we celebrate Mexican food, culture, and cuisine. Over the last 4 years, I developed an intense passion for Mexican food culture, and in September of 2020, I made the move down from California to Mexico to pursue those culinary arts and share the food with the rest of the world. And that's what we are doing today. Today I'm showing you how to make this Mexican roasted poblano salsa. This salsa is essentially a bechamel sauce that's enriched or infused with poblano peppers. Now, if you're not familiar with French cuisine, bechamel is one of the 5 mother sauces available to us in French culinary arts. And it's called a mother sauce because all of the milk-based sauces in French cuisine are all derived from this one sauce. So this is the base recipe on top of which you can build other recipes. The other 4 sauces are either based on chicken stock, beef stock. The other 4 mother sauces are either based on chicken stock, beef stock, tomato, or egg yolk, such as the very famous hollandaise sauce. This recipe then is split into 2 parts. First, we're gonna make a classic French bechamel, and then we're gonna go ahead and infuse it with poblano peppers. For this recipe, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of flour, 3 tablespoons of butter, 2 cups of hot milk mixed with 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 4 poblano peppers, and a pinch of nutmeg. As always, you don't need to write any of this down. It's gonna be all in the description below. While you're there, leave me a comment and let me know how spicy you like your food, and also hit that like button and subscribe button. That's gonna send more of my content your way, and I'd really appreciate it. Now, let's start with our bechamel. For bechamel sauce, we begin by melting 3 tablespoons of butter, and to that melted butter, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. The amount of liquid, or in this case milk, we're using in this recipe depends on how thick you want your ultimate bechamel to be. Here's a helpful table that I got from Julia Child that's gonna help you adjust the thickness of your bechamel. For this recipe, we're gonna be using a medium thickness or general all-purpose sauce that requires about 1.5 tablespoons of flour to each cup of milk that we're using. So cooking these 2 ingredients together produces what's called a roux in French cuisine. And once this mixture begins to change color into a darker brown color and the aroma starts to remind you of cookies or baked goods, then it's time to trickle in our milk. And we wanna add it little by little so it doesn't burn and so it has time to incorporate itself. We also want to whisk vigorously to make sure our mixture doesn't seize and become hard. So make sure you are constantly whisking throughout this whole process. Whisk, whisk, and whisk. And if you think you shouldn't be whisking, you should be whisking. So just make sure you're whisking a lot. All that whisking, all that butter, all that flour and milk is gonna help produce a velvety, smooth texture that it's just pure heaven and reminds me of like a velvety melted cheese texture is what it's going to have at the end. Once all the milk is incorporated and you whisk about 3 to 5 minutes until it gets to a nice thickness, then it's time to add a little bit of more salt if that's needed and a pinch of nutmeg to finish it all off. And that's all that's required to make a basic bechamel sauce. Now the second step here is enriching it with poblano peppers. What we want to do is lightly oil 4 poblano peppers and add them to a large pan and begin to roast them. Turn them every 3 to 5 minutes and make sure they're blistering on every one of those sides, and it's okay if the color turns really dark and it looks like it's almost burning. That's going to help develop a really nice smoky flavor to these peppers, okay? So that is what we are actually looking for. We don't want them to not look burned. Once all the peppers are nicely charred, it's time to pull them off the pan. And what we want to do is add them into a Ziploc bag or put them in a large bowl and cover them with plastic wrap and let them sit for about 20 to 30 minutes or until they completely cool off. That's gonna make it a lot easier to take the skin off these peppers later on. Once they're all cooled off, it's time to get the skin off. So we use a small paring knife to scrub off all the skin that we don't need and that's more difficult for people to digest. Then we wanna slice them open, take out any of the seeds. We don't need any of those either. And once they're all cleaned up like this, then it's time to chop them up just a little bit and add them all into a blender. Finally, blend the peppers and the bechamel together in a blender until the mixture is completely emulsified. Once it's emulsified, you can actually strain this salsa further to make sure it has a an even more smooth texture. And you could even finish it off with another couple of tablespoons of butter. That's gonna help really enrich it, and you can mix that with a whisk or run that mixture again through a blender to get a really nice silky poblano salsa. If you want a more rustic texture like I'm doing here, then you can keep the salsa as is without removing the small bits of poblano peppers that are in there. So there you have it. That's how you make a perfectly creamy roasted poblano salsa. This salsa will pair excellent with many dishes, including eggs or breakfast toast, as well as chicken or pasta. And I got a pasta recipe coming out here shortly that's going to include and use this particular salsa, so stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and if you did, you'll find all the ingredients down below in the description. While you're there, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you could, please, and leave me a comment down below letting me know what you liked or didn't like. And that's all I got for you today. Until next time, live long and prosper.